Roadside guy shooting a video on how to change a tire. 2003 Toyota Lexus LS 430. Customer has beautiful aftermarket wheels, which do require a spline tool, which he does have with him. It has special grooves there, and that's what fits into these lug nuts inside here. So we've got our jack in position right there on the pinch weld. We'll go ahead and get a little bit of jack on it, but not get it all the way off the ground, just to set it. We'll go ahead and get these. Go ahead and have my trusty assistant, Mr. Spare Tire, hold my camera for me. Doing custom wheel tire changes, it is very important to keep your hand around the end of this tool and guide it in so you don't scratch the customer's wheel, because one little slip and the whole wheel is ruined. That one's on a little tight. I'll grab my breaker bar. We got our 1/2-inch breaker bar. Go ahead and put that on there. There we go. Now it's free. Use our impact again. There it is. So these lug nuts, as you can see, they're different than a normal lug nut. It's called a spline lug nut. It's for custom wheels. It requires this special spline tool here to fit onto it. The lug nut, the regular socket, will not fit onto the lug nut, so you'll have to have that special spline tool you can get either online, or you can get usually at like Pep Boys or something like that. I haven't found them at AutoZone, but you never know. Got that up in the air. We'll go ahead and change camera, guys. We'll go ahead and put the factory wheel back on. Another thing I want to point out, when you're doing a custom wheel like this, it's very important that you look at the hub of the car and you see this plastic wheel spacer that's here. If we were to put this factory spare tire on there and we were to forget to remove this wheel spacer, that wheel would fall off of this car. And vice versa, if we were to forget to put this wheel spacer on and we had that wheel on the car, the wheel would also fall off. What happens is it doesn't allow the lug nut to torque properly. You can see this one's kind of stuck, so we'll have to grab a flathead screwdriver. See if we can get that off of there. Alright, I got my butter knife is what I use for these wheel spacers. My wife always laughs at me when she sees this in my tool bag. She thinks it's not a real tool, but if she watches this video, she'll learn, like you guys, this is the best tool for removing this. A flathead screwdriver has a little bit thicker of a head, and a pocket knife has too sharp of an edge there. So what you want to do is just get this tool behind that spacer, this butter knife, and you want to just create a separation, and then just kind of work it around. You don't want to pry too much on one side at one time, because you can break it. And if you break this wheel spacer, you're not going to find it at Walmart, so it's not going to be something that you can just easily find and replace. And like I said before, without it, you're not driving down the road with your desired wheel on the vehicle. So it's important that you just take your time, no matter how much of a rush you're in, and you work that wheel spacer off. So that's the plastic wheel spacer that I'm talking about. So like I said, if you leave this on and you put that factory wheel on, that wheel it'll feel tight when you impact those lug nuts on there, or you tighten them by hand, but it won't be the right torque specification, and those lug nuts will come loose and they'll fly off of the vehicle, and the wheel will fall off, and you'll have problems. And the same thing, let's say if you went to put this back onto the vehicle and you did not have that wheel spacer on there, that the lug nuts would tighten and you would hear them impact, and if you were doing it by hand, you wouldn't be able to tighten it any more than what you have. But when you drove down the road, that wheel would start separating and vibrating, and then it would knock those lug nuts loose right off of the vehicle, and that wheel would come off. So it's important that you take that off, and I'll give this to the customer. It's important that you put that in a safe place so it doesn't get broke. And we'll go ahead and give the camera back to my camera assistant. A little bit of scrub. There we go. Alright. I'll go ahead and hand tighten each one of these lug nuts, as I always do. That way we make sure we don't cross thread them. We don't just start impacting them. I like to hand tighten these almost all the way down so they'll hold the wheel for me. Then I don't have to worry about the other ones going on at an angle and cross threading. Once you've got all of these hand tightened with the spline tool, you can go ahead and impact it. Here, that impact is dead from a complete day's use, so I'll go ahead and let that jack down, and we'll tighten it the rest of the way by hand with our breaker bar. Whenever hand tightening with one of these spline tools, you can see how far it's extended there. It's important that you keep your hand where the socket mounts to it, because it could break your socket or your spline tool. It's a very thin-walled socket, the spline tool, and they do break. And once they break, you can't use it anymore. So you might want to always take care of it and make sure you're using it the right way, because they're not that easy to find. I mean, sometimes they are. Depends on what part store you go to. But I've had trouble finding them when mine have broken before, and it's prevented me from helping a customer out. The customer didn't have one. Mine was broke. Went to the parts store. They didn't have one. The customer had to have their vehicle towed. It's important that you get these tight all the way around. They're custom lug nuts. They're not really made for factory wheels, so we'll make sure you get a good clamp on there. Alright. These these spline tools will stick inside the socket sometimes. That one came out. There you are, sir.
Alrighty.
All right, there is a video on the importance of removing the wheel spacer when putting a factory wheel back onto a vehicle after changing the wheel after changing the custom wheel that the vehicle had. So hope this video helped you out. It's very important that you pay attention to that spacer. You guys have a great day. Bye.